Welcome to 23 Parker Street. What I wanted to do is just give you a little background information, because I talked about this property in the context of permaculture and the ethics and principles a little bit, but it was way back in the spring, and you have different kind of frame for these things now. So I wanted to orient you a little bit. We're on the south end of downtown Plymouth, so when we go over to the Eco House of the university, you get to see how close we are to Main Street. The house is an 1890s house. And we've been here as of January, I think 11 years now. And we're situated on a half-acre parcel in town. So we talked a lot this morning about different size parcels, and yeah, we're probably using a quarter acre. I say using in a very loose term, but the house is situated in the southeastern corner of the half-acre. So it's basically a rectangle that runs along the road, and there's a pin in here in the woods. And then it goes straight back, and the white building is my office. It's about 15 feet off the north side of my office, and then back down the other side. So it's kind of nice if the house wasn't dead in the middle of it. It's kind of tucked off to one side. I guess what I would share kind of overall is that what we've been focused on here is remediation of the site, bringing soils back, making soils healthier, bringing habitat back in, welcoming other species back into the site. It had been mostly a lawn, like very suburban in scale and structure, as you saw from some of the images. And food production, perennial food production, have all been, I think I'm seeing something over there, have all been things we've wanted to show different examples of and experiment with, kind of at the small residential in-town scale. And what we've been trying to do is how can we better integrate the use of the house in our lives and the site? How can we have like the whole site kind of start thinking in cycles and start acting in a more ecological way? So a lot of the changes that we did initially and are still working on relate to the house and making the house focus on conservation and good indoor air quality and a good natural living environment. And reducing the energy need for the house. And so we'll go in and we'll take a look, and I've talked to you about the composting toilet that we built, and you'll see there's solar hot water on the front. But the bigger things have actually been like some air sealing, some insulation. We just did our last insulation project and actually did soy-based spray foam in the basement ceiling and on the attic floor. And that really added to the envelope. And then there's a room in the back above the garage that you'll be able to go into that has dense packed cellulose. And I could talk a little bit about that when we take a look at that. But that allowed us to actually, we did a double stud wall with extensions, and we actually ended up with a much bigger wall cavity on our northwest corner in a room that had fiberglass insulation installed all the wrong ways. It didn't actually extend in the whole bay. It was folded over. It was awful. So the room, in effect, had little to no insulation.
I don't think there's any really good use of fiberglass.
Unfortunately not, no.
So how did you take it out and put in the new insulation?
I was actually gutting the room, so I was taking all the wall material down to the studs, so I was able to extract the fiberglass. It would be difficult otherwise. There are insulation companies that will blow dense pack into bays that have fiberglass. So that's another option. So focusing on making the building more energy efficient. Right now our only fuel source for heat is oil. And so we moved into the house and we were using, I forget the number, but I want to say like 650 gallons of oil is what had been used for the house annually. And what we did was we actually addressed the heating system was really inefficient. It was sending heat very poorly to places. It was a steam distribution system with old radiators, which we really liked the charm of it, but it was at the end of its life. So we replaced it with a hot water system. We changed the boiler, same boiler, but we changed it over to a hot water system, insulated all the pipes, restructured how it was routed into the house, through the house, added these low-profile wall-mounted radiators that you'll see, these DAcres radiators, which work at a lower temperature, and added a Honeywell computer. And all those pieces together allowed us to actually look at what the outdoor temperature was, what the demand for heat inside was, and be able to also make it programmable, but what the demand inside was, And about half of our calls for heat, we found that the water inside the furnace was already at the right temperature. And so the computer just says, you don't need to turn on furnace, you just need to circulate the warm water you already have. So you hear a little circulator pump come on, sends warm water to the radiators, and then maybe the next cycle it has to fire up again. That cut our oil consumption by 50%. It was actually a little bit more than 50, but 50%. And then the additional insulation done this year, an air sealing, is supposed to cut it by another 50%. So we should be down to a quarter of what we're using when we first moved in. So our goal has been to try to be, well under 200 gallons is our goal. And then once we've done that, then to look at supplementing with wood. But not just to jump into wood and just to pump towards a wood in, because I'm figuring that that's not sustainable long term, environmentally, physically for me. So we're taking these little tiny steps all the time, and in an old house, with each step, an opportunity arises. There were some plumbing issues that happened in the upstairs bathroom that opened up the opportunity for doing the composting toilet. There was the whole heating. Doing the heating allowed us to actually redo the living room and the dining room. And you'll see all the wood we've used has come from within the region. We did clay on the walls to try to get into some natural building retrofits for the house. So we did clay skim coats on the walls in the living room and in the dining room. All the products that we've used inside have been super low or no VOC. So a lot of tung oil. All the wood's just been tung oiled. No VOC paints. Things like that. And you can ask questions. The whole house is open for you guys to take a look at. Maybe we can go in the basement as well. Rice paddy.
There's no liner on that.
There is a liner.
There is?
Yep.
Oh.
So what happened was they actually started with the lowest rice paddy. That was the first year. These two rice paddies I added this year. And to answer your question, Valerie, what I did was actually very crudely kind of calculated my area that I wanted to be working in, and then started to excavate. And pretty much all the material, took all the topsoil, the good,
Put it to the side.
put it to the side. No, actually put it physically put it away to the side to use it as a mix for the rice. But as I get down below the first couple inches of really good topsoil, I took everything else and put it to the side to build up the side and to actually kind of tuck the liner into the landscape.
And is it made out of rubber?
It's recycled swimming pool liner. Someone had a tear in their swimming pool liner.
As long as it's underground, it doesn't.
It's going to last a long time. Yeah, it's going to last a long time. And it was a good reuse of that material, which was otherwise going to be landfilled.
And where do you get that? You just find somebody who's doing their pool?
Just keep your ears open. Once I knew I wanted it, I think it took me about a month to find it.
Contact the pool place.
Yep, you can do that. You can also use old material from roofs when they take an old rubber roof off. So yeah, but these have added space for the rice. The rice is actually all still hanging in the greenhouse. If I get a couple hours, I'll finish harvesting it. But it's space for the rice. There's a ton of wildlife in here. And the dragonflies and the damselflies all over the rice, and the stormwater capture. It's been great.
And when you plant the rice, what is it, like 3 inches apart or something like that? How close together?
It's more than that. It's further apart than that. We go down to the other rice paddy, you actually see how close it is. So they can be like a foot on center, and I've even started the upper ones. I did more than a foot on center, a little bit denser. So you can see old stalks from the last 2 years in this one. Now, how much rice do you get out of that? That much. We'll see it when we go in the greenhouse. We'll see. I haven't weighed it yet. That's one of the things I have to do. It's all dried. The greenhouse gets a lot of additional heat in the upper layer, so we use it as kind of our solar dryer. So we'll actually take all that rice off, and I'll have it all by type, because we get 18 types here, and I want to actually have it all for rice seed to give to people that want to use it, so if you're looking for rice seed. And I'm going to weigh it when I have it all bagged. So guesstimate? I don't know, 10 pounds? I was hoping for more. I find it hard to believe with more than 10 pounds there, but I might be wrong.
Hops are so tall.
Yeah, they grow right up through the roof.
I have a friend that goes for seeds, and she harvests a little grain for herself, and every year she gets about like a local spread for grain with a huge investment. It's just
Yeah.
amazing.
It puts it in
look at that one.
perspective, though. Puts it in perspective.
And so this is all just rainwater catch?
Right now, this is all rainwater. We've had to supplement a little bit, and the plan is we're doing some improvements to our front of our house and our front porch. And when those are done, that's going to receive gutters. And we're actually going to be
Okay, and then
storing
it'll just
water
come
behind
out
this
again.
rhododendron. Yeah.
You are now, or
We will be. Yeah, and it'll gravity feed down to the right.
You just have a hose across the yard or even bury a line?
I'm going to try a hose on the surface to make sure that's the way we're going, but it keeps get tucked in to the ground
Yeah.
at this point. This is the only remaining lawn we have, this little patch here. It's a high priority for many family members to maintain that piece of lawn. But everything else was lawn, just so you know.
Yeah. So where's your septic system?
We're on sewer.
Oh, so
There was a septic system here that was really new, and it's actually below the office. It only had a couple of years in service, and then sewer came through.
oh,
So what you'll see is, come over here. Let's work our way towards the lawn. So what you'll see is everywhere that there are gardens, this is a garden that we've used for annuals, and it's only 2 or 3 years, I think it's 3 years old. This was lawn, and everything that we've done has been no-till, it's been sheet mulching, and so this is only a couple years old, and this is what you get. We had some extra sand from the greenhouse, so we did a whole bunch of sheet mulching, and we put some sand down over the cardboard, and then compost, and this is what you get. I mean, it's great for carrots and all kinds of stuff. And eventually this will actually become its own perennial small forest garden or polyculture planting. So we have the maple tree that's here. There's potential for pawpaws or other things here. So we will do a patch design just for this area. But we've gotten a couple of years of annual production out of it, kind of leading up to that until we have the time to really invest in what we want to do.
yeah, and kale is seeming not to be an annual. It's a indeterminate.
I didn't plant that this year. That's last year.
Yeah, I know. Mine's
Yeah, kale's all over the place. When you talk about hardy kiwi, that came up this morning, Martin talked about it a little bit. When you build a trellis for hardy kiwi, build it strong. That trellis, I knew it wasn't built like Gusto hardy kiwi, but last year when I looked at it, it was getting kind of punky because it was all the cedar we bought, but the birch and the apple limbs and other things are just things from around the property. Yeah. And I could see last year, this is on its way out. The top part of the pergola was on its way out. And I got a little greedy and I tried to get one more year out of it. And we had so many kiwis that tore it down. What do you do with the kiwis?
Raise them or
We ate them all.
You ate them all?
Shared a lot of kiwis with people. You might find a couple of rogue kiwis out there.
I like the sky one.
Okay, now we'll have to prune it back and replace the top. Davey going in?
Yeah, there's like 4 of them.
Yeah, go for it. They'll be super sweet because they've been through frost and.
I love the flower.
I thought I picked the cleanest.
The 2 brands that are around here that Dave recommends are the one that begins with a Activa and the one that begins with an A, one that begins with a K. Do you know
I'd
what
have to
this
go
is?
back and look at my documentation. I don't know off the top of my head.
Go.
It does look like a kiwi.
They are delicious. They're a little bit addictive.
You don't have to peel the stem. Just bite right through it.
Yeah.
Might need a couple more.
I always thought that they don't even taste like kiwis, but they do. They're wonderful.
They're so sweet.
I have not gotten a kiwi yet.
Okay, I'm sold.
So a couple other things while we're here. Maybe instead of moving up to the front, we'll actually stay back here. Over by Ann, the patio there, I told you guys about. That's just urbanite. That's just recycled concrete as a patio base. And then actually that furniture, that big farm table. We had been looking for the longest time. That's kind of our family, like eat outside space, kind of hang out with friends space, a little fire pit. And we've been looking at like patio furniture. And patio furniture, every piece of patio furniture we came across that we liked had like such a big impact. It was, exotic woods. It was made of other kinds of materials that I just didn't like. And so one day went to the local lumber yard here And the guys had made this out of all the culled lumber, all the stuff they couldn't sell.
Wow.
And so it was, a bunch of material from the area that wasn't actually going to get used and someone from the area's time. And so we felt really good about purchasing that. It served us well.
And it's nice.
And it's nice. It's character. Yeah, it's easy to replace if a piece breaks. So the greenhouse, we can talk about the greenhouse a little bit. And we can go inside, but it's going to be hot in there, I can tell you that. On a day like today. So what you're seeing is a 10 by 20 greenhouse in a 6 by 20 room on the north side, which has tools, all the garden tools. Chicken coop is in that side in the northwest corner. And then up top, if you go up the stairs, up top there's a hammock and a place to hang out for the family. But the greenhouse, the one unique thing about it, I think, is that it's off-grid. It has solar panels up on the roof. It has a battery bank inside. And it operates using something called a climate battery. And basically what it is, it's passive heat storage in the ground. And so what happens is on a day like today, the temperature in there will exceed what we need. We'll gain a lot of additional heat, especially up high. So there are two green pipes. You can see one right through the door. The one through the door is actually the outlet. It's the exhaust. On the far side, there's a taller one, which is the intake. And you have a thermostat. You'll look up the ladder in there. You'll see a thermostat up on the wall when we go in. And you can set it for whatever temperature. I think I have it set for like 85 or 90 degrees right now. And the thermostat will tell us, okay, you have more heat than you need up high. It turns on a fan, and it draws that heat down through that pipe and through a whole bunch, 10 4-inch drain pipes, the kind of perimeter drain with the slits in it and the filter sock on it. And it draws that warm air down through these pipes and disperses it in the sand below the beds. So it stores heat all day long in this kind of sand thermal mass underneath the greenhouse.
And then exhausts it, right?
And then when it exhausts, it actually is cooler. Like you've lost the heat from the air. At that point, the fan will turn off in the afternoon, and then the heat will just kind of passively work its way up through the beds. The other option we have, if we need to add more solar panels to make it fully functional, would be you could turn that fan on when your temperature is going to drop below freezing. So you could even say, like, I have a low thermometer installed too. So you could say, yeah, if it's getting below 35 degrees, turn the fan on, take the cold evening air, heat it in the ground, and bring it back up. And it just helps modulate it. It doesn't make it year-round for tomatoes. It just makes it actually take the edge off, give you that season extension, for a little longer fall and a little earlier spring.
Yeah, even longer than the greenhouse itself could do.
Even longer, yeah. So let's go take a look.
Kiwis are great, huh?
When I tell you guys, you can all walk around and look.
Kenny, you don't get to go near the hammock. No. Oh my God.
Look at how pretty the cabbages are. I love them.
Take a nap in the car.
Rice.
Nice. There's a good amount of rice.
Just a bowl of celery. It looks. I've had luck with.
Anyone wants celery?
Yeah. And all your baby kale.
So I mentioned to a couple people when we were coming in here that my family was supposed to open this when they left at 10:30 this morning. So it was 120 up top, and it was 100 and the lower number there.
101.
101? So 101's a little hotter than you want for your greens. But they look good. They got watered yesterday. They're looking pretty happy. So it's possible that maybe the sun just started coming out here and it really started to take off. This deck we've been starting to use for drying things. So we got some peppers up there now. We had other things up there over the course of the summer. And this large rainwater tank here needs to get integrated with the building. That's one of the missing pieces for this building is we need to set up the water catchment on the front roof and the back roof so that it starts supplying its own water. We have all the surface area, so it's just a matter of, we're at the point now, it's just a matter of getting the gutters up and getting everything plumbed, and we'll be ready to go. That's the idea, yeah.
So do these grow all year here?
The celery will get harvested. The greens will have right through to February.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. I always see something.
Well, what we usually do is come in with some fresh compost and prep all the beds,
Yeah.
and then end of February, beginning of March,
Yeah.
get it going with greens again. And then in the summertime, use this as a hothouse. So we have tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, all the heat-loving stuff in here in the summertime.
And will you try to plant some of these out early next year? I mean, are these just...
Possibly. Like some of the kale and stuff, I'll take it. That's actually some of the kale that's right out here, the stuff that we had here in the winter. And so I'll take some of them out. But we'll eat a lot of it. We'll eat a lot of it. And it's just, you come out here in January, you go off and go for a winter hike or whatever, and you come out here at 3 in the afternoon, and it's like 85 degrees. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's really nice. So we're still finding uses. Like the rice, that was the new thing, drying the rice in here this year. And that worked really well. Questions?
How do you choose the different glass for the roof or plexiglass? Because I've been looking at that for building a greenhouse, and there's like 12 different kinds.
Yeah, the
glass
kind that we
doesn't-
used is actually very similar to the kind that they just started using at Central Rocky Mountain Permaculture Institute. They had to replace their greenhouse.
Yeah.
And so what they use is this 4-foot wide material, and it comes in any length you want. I think these are 13-footers.
Yeah.
And it's a double wall. So you get a wall, you have an airspace, a wall, and then an airspace and another wall. So you get 3 layers of plastic and 2 air spaces. And you could get more R value if you made it thicker, but then you lose a little bit of how much light comes through. So it's kind of a balance of both cost and performance.
Yeah.
And so we decided we would use this. They were using this in Colorado, and they have a lot colder winter temperature than we do. We use double coverage, so we can actually put, row cover over. I have this PEX piping on top of the water tank that actually just stands up here and makes a little hoop house over all the beds. And so we use that instead of trying to go with a thicker roof up there. We know we're going to lose temperature at night, no matter what.
Right.
But this material is made in Connecticut, and it's sold through a distributor here in New Hampshire. So that was part of it.
What's it called?
This is it, Rimall. The folks down in Hooksett, the greenhouse people, I think it's Rimall. I have the catalog.
Okay.
Check it. I'll tell you that. Yeah. And so we were able to order it and have it drop shipped here.
Yeah.
And these are just thermal paints, right?
And these are just from people's houses, similar to what DAcres has done. That's where we got our inspiration.
And it's not bad if they've gotten the seal broken because...
We haven't seen it be bad.
Yeah, because that sort of diffuses the light.
Yeah, but it hasn't hurt. It hasn't hurt production at all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's kind of hot in here.
Yeah, I'm
It
going
is.
out.
You're ready.
It's closed up. A day like today, that should be vented. So this morning, it should have been open. But and if it wasn't open and didn't have a fan, it'd be even hotter. Come on up here. Let's take a look up here.
Will that be usable? Oh, yeah.
You're skilled. So what we have over here, Valerie, I'll give you time to take photos. Don't worry. So what we have over here is now the second full season as a forest garden. 3rd season in total since we first started. But this is a piece of the lawn that kind of led up to the road. It was, it has a little bit of a slope. It was kind of a pain to mow. And none of our lawn was great. I mean, this is just what it is. It's not that we do anything to keep the grass going. So what we did was we came in here and we sheet mulched the whole front of it. And what we actually planned our planting around was this idea of an old field mosaic. It's in the Edwell Forest Garden. And I haven't ever seen an old field mosaic that's been planted as like a forest garden. I've seen an old field that's kind of going through transition. But it sounded like the type of thing that'd be fun to have an example of. And that was perfect for us, where none of the trees, we're going to have to control the apple tree a little bit, but none of the trees are going to get more than like 8 to 10 feet high, which gives us some screening, provides habitat, lots of food and medicine and things in here, but doesn't necessarily stop us from doing more solar back here at some point, or getting solar access into the yard. And all of these are going to drop their leaves, so that's part of it as well. So in here we have elderberry and Nanking cherry, and blueberries and apple and high-bush cranberry and lupin and lots of other species, coneflower, horseradish.
Has your high-bush cranberry made it through that infestation?
Yeah, it's right there.
Those little bugs that eat the leaves haven't happened here.
Not so bad. That
come from
came,
you,
that
mowing
thing
over there?
came this up here.
You mean up there?
Those are the big broad leaves.
This here came as a little whip.
No, it's not.
It's a hybrid cranberry that came as a little whip 3 years ago.
Yeah, I just cut mine all back. I'm gonna have to figure out how to keep it from getting defoliated.
Yeah, so you're having a problem with them.
Way.
With what?
A viburnum leaf beetle. It's got a name. It's specifically.
Just don't bring one here.
I took a bath and washed my clothes before I left my house.
Oh, good. You've been cleared.
I've been
What I want to show you guys is just two things. When we did the design for this, we looked at the tree layer, the shrub layer, big shrubs, little shrubs, flowers, dynamic accumulators. We looked at kind of the whole picture. There's approaching 40 different species in here with bulbs and everything else. So a lot of diversity in this one small space. The one thing that I didn't have nailed down that I said, oh, I'll go back and do that later, is ground cover.
Yeah.
And ground cover totally, it's as if nature looked at the ecosystem that had been implemented and said, like, hey, buddy, you missed a big piece here. The ground cover is really important. And it plugged in this really great, this ground ivy, which I love. And it
And
has,
you didn't introduce it. It just.
it was already in the
appeared.
lawn. It's common in lawns.
Yeah, I've got it too.
Yep, I've seen
And
that
so
everywhere.
it came in and it really just took over. And
Yeah.
the first time we noticed how much it was taking over, my wife said, like, wow,
You
you
gotta pull
noticed?
that up,
She's
right?
like, does that bother you? I'm like, no, it's like the best gift. It
Yeah.
found the hole. It
Yeah,
found the hole. But so that's done really well. We have some maintenance, like along the front of this. I actually come in and I'll actually cut back the sod so it's not growing in here, and I'll put down some fresh sheet mulch. But like back here, this hasn't been sheet mulch since we first did it. I mean, this is it. This was lawn.
Wow.
Wow,
This
that's
was lawn.
beautiful.
It comes so upright so easy. When
And
you
it comes
dig
up
into
the top few inches, yeah. And then you starts getting harder,
Yeah.
but
Is there any trace of cardboard in there anywhere?
not in this one. But here there is. This is this is from the spring though. And it's still, you can still see
Are you
it.
just spreading the edge out
But
further?
here you can't. Yeah, there's no cardboard.
You don't have any designated paths through here?
I
Or?
have just 3. So there's a path right here, and it comes up, and we have like perennial onion and things in here.
Yeah.
So I wanted a path. There's a small path that goes around the apple tree.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to you guys, I noticed there's an apple hanging on the tree. Don't touch it.
Why would you?
And
Better get a camera.
and there's also a path right here. That's one of your first apples. Now we had apples last year. This year I didn't think we had any. Oh wow! So there's a path right here, and this path is by default because I noticed that we're not really thrilled about having our cars on our property. Like we don't use our garage for cars. We actually keep our cars way to the top of the driveway, and we're going to make a landing area for cars up there. But what I noticed is a lot of friends would park over here, and they'd want to come down through here. So we made a path in the design initially. And it's just nice. It's kind of an easy way to walk from the yard out to go to town.
Did you create this driveway? Or was
Now it was here. It was here. Yeah. So let's go up to the front. Totally different experience in the front. Yes, very good. So the front yard here was also lawn. This is, what do we mean, 2012? In May of 2011, this was lawn. And it had a group of students that came from St. Bonnie. And they were high school students. Their teacher had taken a course at DAcres, PDC at DAcres. And they came and they wanted to do a hands-on project. And what we did was we sheet mulched the front yard. And prior to them coming, I took down an ash tree. It's over here. The stump you see, which has been inoculated with oyster mushrooms. Thanks to Dave Richmond. And so I took... No, that's a sunflower that was over here. We sat up there because the squirrels were halfway through it. But rather than take that stump out, I inoculated it with oyster mushrooms and took all of the branches from the whole tree. It was the twins of this tree. So all the branches were piled up right here. And what the kids did was they came in and had filled the front porch with cardboard over about 2 weeks. And I had 11 yards of wood chips down in the driveway. And in 45 minutes, they laid cardboard down over this whole front yard and put 6 to 8 inches of wood chips on top of it. It was awesome. They had a ball doing it. It was great. Huh?
Who's that?
the students from
From
Sambani.
Sambani,
And
yeah.
prior to doing that, when just kind of talking about the house and everything, I had stopped mowing the front yard, and it was that kind of first growth in the spring. Stuff was coming up, and little wildflowers and things were coming up, and it kind of looked like a little meadow coming in. Wasn't necessarily what neighbors wanted to see. And I had the kids all out through here, and I mean, you put 15 or 20 seventh graders, they just stomped the whole thing down. They were laying on it and pressing it down, which is perfect. Then we put the cardboard on top of it, and then the wood chips. When they left, they came back with all the wood from that tree and laid it out into kind of garden beds. And I knew that it's going to take a long time for those branches to break down. I knew that some of them were real small diameter, kind of like Ramil wood, and some of them were bigger, like you can see some of the big ones sticking out here. But I wanted to process all that carbon back into the soil here, and I had the time. And so what you see here, the difference in this area and the lawn behind you, is just in adding organic material. So it's the sticks. It's been a few loads of compost and horse manure from friend number 3. It's been a couple loads of free compost. And then we grew potatoes in it this year. We kind of followed the DAcres model and knew that if we did potatoes here, we'd have to bring more biomass in. So it's straw left over from some natural building projects that friends had. It's been leaves from this tree brought in last fall. And then we just did a cover crop when the potatoes were done. But this is the material that we're getting. Actually, but I mean, this is the material. And one of the cool things, too, is if you look, you can see all the mycelium.
Yeah.
And roots and mycelium. And as I came in to get potatoes, I'm breaking up the sticks a little bit more.
What kind of grass is that coming up then?
This is a rye. There's some buckwheat in here, too. Some of the buckwheat got killed with the first big frost. But this is a pretty nice bed that's starting to come together. And we have more time. Because our goal for this front yard is going to be small fruit. So small fruit bushes, probably some espalier pears or plums or something to that effect, and a lot of wildflowers and things to act as food for pollinators. So we have some time to kind of work on that, but this material is just turning out beautiful. And it hasn't been a lot of labor on our part. It's been the initial investment of getting things going and then sitting back and letting it take its time to do what it has to do.
And this is what kind of a cherry is it?
It's like an ornamental dried out plant. It's really, really beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
that's the most
pollinated.
beautiful pink flowers early in the spring.
You don't really eat these at all, though, do you?
No.
The birds
Try.
do? Do the birds?
Birds love them. Yeah,
Copper
birds love
jelly.
them.
Oh,
Birds love them.
Ornamental
You
crab
could make a
apples.
jam or something.
You could try, yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to show you this because I mean, even like the walkway here, I mean, there's still a ton of wood chips.
Oh, yeah.
There might be no cardboard. Oh, the other thing I've done here I was going to mention with the mycelium is we have the King Stropharia mushrooms in parts of the garden. And so I think Dave talked to us a little bit about making a spore bath. And so sometimes when I see a mushroom coming up, I'll take it and I'll do a 5-gallon spore bath. And this year the focus was in here, pouring that spore material all over this.
That's what the mycelium
So I'm hoping that's what it is. I mean, there's going to be mycelium related to these anyway, but I'm hoping that it's the King Stropharia. That would be awesome. So that's going to aid to the decomposition. I mean, there's so much fuel in here for those mushrooms. How about questions you guys have?
Using all that hardwood and decomposing, aren't you are you eating up all your nitrogen?
I'm eating a ton of nitrogen, sure. So I know that getting nitrogen into the soil here long term is going to be a need. Yeah, because it's definitely going to bind up a lot of nitrogen.
So do you empty your pea buckets and whatnot into the front?
Haven't? Could.
Well,
Well, we're at a point now too where some of our nitrogen fixers that we've been growing in that forest garden, we can start taking some of those and bringing them here. I've already started introducing comfrey in here and out by the raspberries and the asparagus. We have a couple peach trees that we managed to get that we've put in here, and then we have some hazelnuts down the side, down our boundary, knowing that they're going to start to sucker and kind of create a little bit of a hedge.
And so do you prune this pretty frequently to keep it
Yeah,
from
every
getting...
couple of years, it suckers pretty good. It puts water spots up really good.
Oh, cool. Look at I've heard conflicting things about planting comfrey right under the trees. I know this is just ornamental, but
Yeah. What have you
what
heard?
can you say about that?
I think it's great as a chop and drop because it doesn't have to be. I mean, this is only like a foot and a half away from the trunk. Usually the others we have them further away. But it's just nice that you can conveniently cut the comfrey leaves and drop them right there.
So I
by
think I
the
heard that
roots.
there was like root competition because there's like really shallow roots on apples or something, and then
But I mean, the comfrey's so taprooted, I would think it would just
Go right-
go right down
Yeah,
through.
what they do apparently is the roots of those can get to be like 15 to 16 feet deep.
Oh,
And what they do is they bring up the nutrients
From the
from
subsoil.
the subsoil.
Yeah, the first place we planted comfrey, this row of comfrey here, which is spread by root cuttings, not by seed. That row of comfrey is beyond nursery for this project and for bartering, trading with other people. But where it's planted, it's actually the road, the actual road apron, like the sub-base material and everything, kind of sticks out underneath that. And it was funny to watch them take off because they had to go down and then they've had to go like around it. But they've done incredible. Yeah, I think
So
we've
you-
had them about 8 years.
So, you haven't felt any concern for like digging up the pavement, like lifting the, having the concrete just,
No.
no.
It's strong, but it's not that strong, yeah.
Yeah.
So this dense packed cellulose, it's ground up newspaper. You just put this fabric over. You just use the staple gun, staple it on, and then you have a machine that you place outside that basically is blowing, it's chopping up and blowing the cellulose in, and you poke through and you fill the bays. And so then these get compressed as like a roll, or I'll have to compress them again because I've let them sit. But you compress them, and then you can go right over with your drywall or whatever your other wall material is. So we built these walls out. And on this side, what we did, the spec for this one was we actually used 1 inch of foam. We already did the rest of this is an old porch. So we did 1 inch of foam on top of this stuff. So we'll end up doing the same thing in here. Root cellar. We have a root cellar framed in. I wanted to get it all framed in before they came in to do the sprayed-in soy-based foam that you see on the ceiling here.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
soy.
Yeah, and it's white because they have to, for fire code reasons, they have to actually paint it. So they have porcelain-based paint that they have to
What
put
did it
on.
originally look like? What color was it?
It's like a yellow.
And what kind of a machine puts it on? Is it just a hand-carried thing?
Now
or
they pull up with a truck and they run lines from the truck. Even with the soy-based, I mean, it really smelled when they first did it, like all the accelerants and stuff. But what this did for us, 3 inches, it was 3 inches of soy-based foam underneath the floor, and then I think about 3 inches in each of the bays at the top of the sill. And what it did for us is it added insulation, because this is a cold space that we're not trying to heat.
Yeah.
And the heat from upstairs was migrating down here.
And
Because
your
heat
feet
will
were
go to
cold.
cold.
And your
And-
feet were cold.
Yeah, feet were cold. So heat is going to cold, but also with an old house, there were a million little infiltrations, cracks, holes, places where people drilled things. The composting toilet equated, that whole chase that I have equated to like a 2 foot by 2 foot hole. And so that's all been foamed. So the air sealing benefit of this was huge. And then we did the same in the attic. You can actually walk on it in the attic. We have 4 inches, and it's hard. And you can still have stuff stored on the floor. You can walk across it. It doesn't compress.
Does
so
it
that was
biodegrade
nice.
at all?
They said no. We'll find out. I may call you in 40 years. You get a random phone call from me. But what's nice is it's an air barrier. It plugs those holes where the air is moving. And so we were able to plug kind of 2 planes, but knowing that we still have quite a bit of breathability in the house. So we didn't want to make the house so tight that we had to think about mechanical ventilation. But in doing that and getting that insulated, now we can finish insulating this root cellar. We have a bunch of reclaimed 2-inch thick blue foam board that came out of another project, someone else's project that's in there, ready to go on the walls, and then we'll build shelves and be ready to go. Just see the bucket. So yeah, so this is the delivery method from the composting toilet. This is a piece of road culvert.
Oh.
It's smooth on the inside,
It goes into a trash barrel?
and it just comes down and goes into a rollaway trash can.
Wow.
And you just
That
pull
is
that
so
out.
darn
Yeah, you use
great.
bottle jack and jack it up, pull the blocks
Oh, I
out,
see.
and then lower it down, roll it outside, and empty it. And it's about due.
Do you
Yeah.
put like layers of carbon stuff in there?
Yeah, we add wood shavings. So if somebody uses the composting toilet up on the second story, then they just put wood shavings
So
in.
this compost toilet is way simpler than the one at the farm.
Smaller for like
It's smaller. I
people,
mean,
too.
there's 4 of us as opposed to
Exactly.
thousands of people.
Like
Right.
Yeah.
So because there's only 4 of us, we only have to empty this like every 3 months, so like 4 times a year.
So it's was like this is like totally homemade, or is that one's like a big machine?
Right.
Yeah.
And we could have gone with there are compromises. There's something a little smaller than the Clevis at DAcres and bigger than this, but would be the same type of more automated.
Right.
What I like about this is the containment is already done and it's manageable.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a lot of volume, I can take this and easily take it outside. I don't have to shovel it out from in here or anything.
It has peat or no peat?
No, just wood shavings.
You're gonna
No,
get flag
she said, did you say pea or no pea?
Oh, I'm gonna get flagged.
You have a diverter upstairs,
Oh,
so
pea.
where does that go?
You said peat. Because some people add peat moss to
Yeah,
their toilet.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you can't see it here, but upstairs, just up here, in the utility closet in the kitchen, as this passes through, you'll see all our gray water plumbing. So actually, this is the gray water coming down here.
So you can pee upstairs and divert.
So the pea
So
water
the
goes
pee,
into the septic
laundry
system.
water. No,
Or
it goes into the
sitting?
sewer system currently, but the urine, the laundry water, all the sink waters, shower water, all ends up coming down here and then taps into the sewer system down there. It's tapped in down there because I have a break in the rear wall, the concrete. I have a break, and that's where I'll actually divert it out to constructed wetland eventually. So it's ready to go. Just put a diverter on.
So how does the diverter work? How it sorts out?
You can mechanically flip a switch and send the water down a different pipe.
Oh, from up at the toilet.
No, down here.
So you
Is
just have
it-
Oh, sorry, you're asking how the
The
diverter in the toilet
How,
works?
how do you just use the toilet and it separates your
You gotta use it.
solid
You're gonna have
waste?
to go up and use it.
It's
like
got a little plastic thing in the front.
Little cup in
Would it be
front.
plastic and it
it's
just,
porcelain, but yeah.
you know, some of it
Oh,
obviously
so
is
it's
going to
not
go
all
in.
in the same toilet.
Yep,
It's a
you
separate
sit on the toilet, and just like your anatomy, the front is for liquids.
Oh,
So there's a
okay.
little basin with its own little drain.
Okay,
And you
so
have to be
gotta-
careful not to
so
put your
you-
toilet paper in the front.
So you gotta aim the front.
The
and
hole's
back
like this
of it.
big. If you put toilet paper there, you did it on purpose.
No, I didn't do it on purpose.
Oh, you mean just like you can drop it there?
I dropped it accidentally in the front,
Okay.
and then I said, "Oh,
So do guys have to aim well or
you
just
just
sit?
have to sit."
Sitting's better.
Yeah.
Aiming's possible.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
as the
it's
person that
true,
cleans the
yeah.
toilet, I tell everybody they have to sit.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Reduce
as far as,
easier.
as far as the diverter goes, you just put a T in the pipe
Yeah,
with
you
a valve on
put a
it,
Y.
valve on the back on the
A Y.
other side of it.
Yeah, you can put a
The
Y
suicide
with a
bit?
couple of ball valves.
Yeah.
Yep, and then you're good to go.
And then you
So that
just-
way, if you found that your gray water system wasn't working as well as you
You
thought,
can turn it back on,
or
so
you
you let it go
sell the
inside.
house or other things, yeah, you can send it back to the sewer system.
And you haven't built the gray water.
No,
lines
because
on
we want to
stuff
go
like
through
that.
the whole permitting process, and I have too many other projects underway. I'll wait till break in
Until
the
the
action.
government falls apart. and
Or yeah,
you're not
if things
asking
fall
anymore.
apart, then I really don't need a permit. As long as I need a permit, I'm likely to get it, so I can continue to bring groups like you guys here and have you go out and freely talk about it, and not have you swear to secrecy or anything. I think it's good, as painful as it might be to go through the permitting process. Others have already done it, so
You think it's going to be painful?
I think just the additional cost. I mean,
Tedious.
the fact that I'm going to design the system and then I'm going to have somebody else actually put it into a format that works for the regulation.
Right.
It's going to have cost.
You have to
associated.
hire some engineer to.
Most likely, or a septic
To
designer
do
or
your
somebody.
plan, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Filled, and then we topped it off with leaves last fall, and then we started in the wintertime throwing stuff. A lot of times we'll take stuff, like this stuff should really go to the chickens, but like a lot of times we'll take stuff, throw it to the chickens, and the rest of the stuff goes here.
Yeah.
And then when I clean out the chicken coop, I've been throwing it in here. So this is all just since the spring, early spring.
Okay.
And then this last one is a humanure.
How are you going to recover that?
Take all these out
Oh,
when
these
they
pop right. All right.
these pop right out, and then I can shovel it right out.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So I mean, the design criteria for this, where I had a bunch of old wood left over from the pine I purchased to do the siding. So I had all this stuff sitting around, and I wanted to get it out of there so I could actually have it as a functional shed. And so I wanted it to look good from the street, so that's what, and be accessible. And then I got ventilation with a screen in the back.
Yep.
So
So how do you predator-proof your chickens?
what I've done that's been most effective this year is I don't feed them in the coop anymore, because that's why animals were coming in. So when we
More
had,
for the feed than for the chickens.
they were coming for the feed. They'd smell the feed. So I've just been feeding them on the ground,
Okay.
and then they're done with the food for the day, and they go to bed.
Okay.
I mean, we can close that door, but that door is not going to keep anybody out, and even that fence is not going to keep anybody out if they want to get in.
Yeah.
Do you lose any of them?
We did. That chicken tractor back there, when we were building the greenhouse here, the chicken tractor had a big run around it, and we had a bear, 3 bear attacks, and they ate all the chickens.
No. See, that's what I have to be worried about. So,
Yeah, but we have bears. The bear was out here this year. The neighbor called. The bear was coming up by my office. Never came here. So I'm liking this, feeding them on the ground and then feeding
Well,
them.
that's a good
You know, we
tip.
feed them materials from the garden and from the greenhouse as well.
right.
And this year that's worked well because we have raccoons and stuff too, and it hasn't been an issue yet here.
This isn't